Hey guys, so this is just going to be a quick video demonstrating how to set up and use the MIA Community Census add-on, which you can use to send me and Yoga all of your Anki data and statistics so that we can look for trends regarding which type of cards are most effective and how different factors affect your retention rates and so on, so that we can then in turn use that to improve the mass immersion approach and help you guys optimize your language learning. So thanks for everyone who's participating, and overall it's pretty quick and easy to just set this up. So first of all, you want to just install the add-on by downloading the add-on file, which will be provided to all of you guys. And then to install it, all you have to do is double click on it while Anki's open. It's going to have this warning pop up, so just click yes, because I can promise you guys it's not spyware or anything. And then to complete the installation, just go ahead and close and then reopen Anki. Now, before I actually jump into showing you guys how the add-on works, real quick, I just want to cover what the difference between a card is and a note is inside of Anki, because not everyone is familiar with this concept. So when you actually click the add button and you fill out different fields and then hit the add button, what you're doing is you're creating a note. But sometimes multiple cards will be associated with a single note. So just by clicking the add button once, you might make 3 cards which are all associated with a single note. So if we go ahead and actually click on cards right here, we can see that the header is card types for kanji. So kanji is the name of the note, but with the kanji note type, there are multiple different cards associated with it. So we have 1 kanji recognition and 2 kanji production, and each of these have their own card template. So basically, when you add a new note like this, when you hit the add button, you're creating a note which might consist of multiple cards, and cards are the things which you actually review in Anki and have their own individual intervals and exist within an individual deck. So just to demonstrate this further, if we go and look at the cards which we just created, so we see that by clicking the add button once, we created 2 cards. They look the same in terms of their fields, and if I change one field, then I automatically change the other field. So they're kind of tied together, they share the same fields and everything, but one of them says kanji recognition, one of them says kanji production, and they each have their own unique interval, and they can exist in different decks. You can see you put one in one deck, one in the other deck, and they function differently. So one of them has the kanji on the front, keyword on the back, and the other one has the keyword on the front, and then the kanji on the back. So this is just basically the kind of complicated relationship between cards and notes. So what you have to remember is that cards are the things which you actually review. Sometimes you have multiple cards associated with a single note. So now to actually get started with setting up the add-on. So to send us your data, you want to go to MIA, submit Anki statistics. Now it's going to have you log into either Discord or into a Google account, depending on when you're actually watching this video and trying to set this up. The reason why we're having you guys log into Discord is because in addition to these Anki statistics, we're also going to have you guys fill out a more general survey going into how you immerse and how you do your language learning and things like that. And we want to be able to connect the overall survey questions and answers from a certain person to their specific Anki data so that we can look for additional trends regarding whether certain amounts of immersion will lead you to have a higher retention rate and other sort of higher level trends and patterns like that. So if you're a member of the Mass Immersion Approach Discord server, please make sure that you log into the Discord account which you are using inside of that server, and then just go ahead and log in and give Discord permission. And it might take a little bit long to log in depending on what version of Anki you're using. If you're using an older version of Anki, it might be a little bit slower. Now, so here we can see it opens up to the instructions tab, which is blank on mine, but on yours, you should see an actual embedded video, which is the video that I'm filming right now. And so what you want to do is go over to the submit stats page. And basically what you're going to see here is that first we see things grouped by deck. We can see that first we have the default deck, kanji deck, pinyin deck, spelling deck, and this matches all the decks that I have inside of this Anki profile. And by the way, this is just a kind of temporary profile, which I made to test various Anki things like that. So that's why it looks a little weird. But we can see default, kanji, pinyin, spelling, just like we have here. So now within each deck, it's going to show each note type and card type, which are being used. So first, we can see that the first note type is basic, and there's only 1 card associated with this note. And if I don't remember what type of card this is, I can actually click right here and it will open up the browser to all of the cards which belong to that note type in that deck. So here we can see this is kind of just a random gibberish card that I made to test something, but let's just say that hypothetically this was a vocabulary card. So in a second, I'll go through and talk about all of the different types, but essentially what you're going to be doing is going through and telling us for each card type, what type of actual card is it? Because we want to look for basically correlations between your retention rates and other sort of statistics and what types of cards you're doing. And so we need you to tell us for each card type, what are you actually using it as? What type of card is it? So the different options here are this first group are kanji cards. So RRTK or RRTH is recognition, remembering the kanji, or recognition, remembering the hanzi. And it's basically a type of kanji card where you have the kanji or the hanzi on the front of the card and you're trying to recall the meaning. Then we have production, remembering the kanji, or production, remembering the hanzi, which is where you're going to have either a keyword or a definition or a meaning or an example word on the front, and your job is to then recall what the character is. And so if the card is a kanji card, select which one it is. Is it recognition or is it production? And then here we have vocabulary and sentence card. And so a vocabulary card is when you just have a single target word on the front, and then on the back you have what the word means. And a sentence card is when you have an example sentence on the front and then the definition of the target word on the back. Now, if you have both a single target word and then also an example sentence on the front of a card, then you want to select both. It's kind of a vocabulary sentence card. So this is when you have two instances of the target word, one outside of a sentence isolated, and then another one in the sentence. And it doesn't matter whether you're using text or audio, if you have just a text vocabulary word or a text sentence on the front, or whether you just have the audio of a single word or the audio of a sentence on the front, we're going to automatically detect whether or not you have audio using the add-on. So you don't have to worry about that. They both just count as a vocabulary or sentence card, regardless of whether or not it's text or audio. And then finally, we have closed or MCD, which is for the type of cards where you have a sentence and then you're actually hiding one portion of the sentence and your job is to recall it and kind of fill in the blank. Now you can also see that there's an option to just click ignore this card type. So now there's a few situations where we're going to ask you guys to just choose ignore this card type. One of them is if the card itself is not actually for language learning, because we're only focusing on language learning in this data collection. And the second case would be if the card is for language learning, but it's for a different language than what you specified as your target language on the general survey. And the last thing is if the type of card is for language learning and it is for the target language that you specified, but it's a different type of card than what we specified here. It's not a kanji card or a sentence card or a vocabulary card or a closed card, then just click ignore this card as well, because right now we're only looking for cards that belong into these specific categories. So basically, just to phrase it a different way, only select one of these options if the card type is something that fits into one of these categories and is for language learning and you're using it for the specific target language which you specified in the general survey. If not, just click ignore this card type. What you want to do is go through all of your decks, all of your note types, and all of your card types and specify what type of card they are, or whether you just want the add-on to ignore it because it doesn't fall into the requirements of what we're looking for. And you can ignore entire decks if you want to as well. And just to clarify, if you have one note type that is being used in multiple decks, you'll have to specify it specifically for each deck, because it could be that although you have some kanji cards in your default deck and some kanji cards in your kanji deck, for example, you use them differently in each deck. So in order to count for every possibility that we could think of, we made it so that for each card type and each note type, you specify it again for each deck, just in case you're using the same cards or the same notes differently across multiple decks. So it might be a little bit repetitive at parts, but please just fill out every single card type, even if you've already specified it at some point earlier in the screen here, because we want to make sure that we know what you're using it for within that specific deck. So go through, fill it out on all the different decks that you have, and then you just want to hit submit stats. And then it's going to have this window where you confirm it, click yes, it's going to go through and actually send it, and then you're going to get this thing pop up at the end telling you that it successfully submitted your data, and then that's about it. So yeah, it's pretty simple overall, should only take a couple minutes, and thank you guys so much for participating in this survey and helping us improve the mass immersion approach.